Bombshell NASCAR news today. Aric Almirola has announced his retirement at the end of the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series season. We're talking that and a lot more right now. So, this isn't my normal habitat, obviously, or maybe it is, considering how much I'm going to be here over the next few weeks and months. Welcome to sunny Central Florida, and I know a lot of you in the rest of the country are dealing with pretty cold temperatures, so I'm definitely soaking up the sun right now. As you can tell, there are race cars on the track. This is the first, as far as I know, this is the first time Indy cars have been on the track in 2022, and I am here at Sebring Raceway to cover a quick test. I mean, there's only 3 cars here. Christian Lundgaard for Rahal Letterman, and then the 2 Meyer-Shank cars of Helio Castroneves and Simon Pagenaud. But I'm also here in Florida to cover the NASCAR Next Gen test, and it just so happened that they were running Indy cars at Sebring, so I figured I'd come out here and do a video on that as well. Now, that video will be coming later on today, and I don't do this much, but I'm going to mention it right now because I do have a Patreon page. And if you are interested in any of my racing reports where I actually am on the ground covering the real stuff, you can jump in on my Patreon page, and for $10 a month, at the end of the video, I'm going to put together a really cool end credit sequence where everybody's names who are at that $10 tier will be shown on each of these report videos. And it's going to end up averaging out, I think, to at least 1 trip a month. I think it's going to end up being a lot more than that. I looked, and my February, 16 out of 28 days, I'll be out of the house, out of my house, my humble abode in Indianapolis. So really putting in the effort this year. My vision for the channel hopefully will kind of be realized this year, which I tried to do in 2020, but obviously 2020 happened. So let's talk about Aric Almirola. So a bit of a shocking announcement today that Aric Almirola will be stepping away from the NASCAR Cup Series with Stewart-Haas Racing in 2022. Now, maybe it's not quite as shocking when you consider that Stewart-Haas had a fairly interesting announcement the other day where they announced a reserve driver in the Cup Series, and that was that they had hired Ryan Preece. And you kind of go, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. Well, now it makes sense. I think it seems like Ryan Preece would be the guy to take over the number 10 car. It was also interesting to see that announced today was that Smithfield Foods, focus on the Smithfield, you're a real OG if you remember that, will be the primary sponsor for this year, but it sounds like they may not be renewing for another year. So kind of interesting times there with Stewart-Haas Racing. Obviously, you guys know if you've been watching the channel in the last couple of months, it seems like they're definitely positioning themselves for the future. And you would think that Ryan Preece would be part of that, maybe Aric Almirola not so much. It's also interesting to note, since I mentioned that I'm going to the Daytona test, that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to test one of the cars as well. So a lot of times guys who retire in NASCAR don't stay retired. But it's interesting too because I think I saw a lot of sentiment online, which I found interesting because to me, I'm a boomer, right? I think of Aric Almirola as a much younger driver than perhaps he is. He's been around for at least 10 years. And when you realize that he's hanging it up and then you see the kind of reaction online like, oh, I grew up with Aric Almirola, it's kind of amazing to kind of watch that passage of time and see even drivers that I thought were kind of young and kind of up-and-comers and kind of, hanging in there in the Cup Series, all of a sudden, they're announcing their retirement. Certainly, Aric Almirola, he didn't have like the most amazing, illustrious career, but he was there in the races that mattered. And if you think about it, 2018 Daytona 500, I think, is the one everybody will point to. Although it wasn't a win for him, probably should have been if Austin Dillon hadn't just completely dumped him. But you know, it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do this year. A lot of it, you know, it's interesting with the NASCAR guys. A lot of them sometimes get their final win in their final season, especially when they announce it like this, and other times they just kind of flitter off into the wind and really don't do anything. So it'll be interesting to see if Aric Almirola can pull something out toward the end of his career. Now, Daytona 500 entry list. We've been talking about that quite a bit on this channel as well. And there was an interesting tweet the other day from Bob Pockris, which he claimed that he expects the Daytona 500 entry at 40 to 43 cars. And if you guys know, obviously my expectation is that you're going to have a short field this year. I think we already know all 39 cars that are going to be there. But how is Bob Pockris getting to the 43 number? I think 40 is the most realistic. I think 40 is very, very realistic to expect, although I'm still going to be a pessimist because that's me. But I kind of put some numbers together. So obviously we know the 3 open cars that are showing up, for sure, confirmed. 62 car of Noah Gragson, 66 car of Timmy Hill. That's confirmed now. Timmy Hill is going to test the car at Daytona tomorrow, and of course that, you know, if you're testing, you're going to do something in racing in modern day. And of course the 27 car of Jacques Villeneuve. So how do you get to 43? You need 4 more cars. So obviously we've talked about the Gaunt brothers. To me, the Gaunt brothers, they have a chassis, but again, I've seen the chassis. It wasn't updated. It didn't have a whole lot hanging off of it. So I think it's going to be kind of tough for them to get to Daytona. Though again, they have equipment. It makes sense that they would make it. New York racing, or NY racing, I don't know what you want to call it. I'm going to use both so that I don't get yelled at in the comments. I'm still going to get yelled at in the comments. So they've been posting a lot on social media, a lot of renders. But I did get some inside info that NY Racing does have a next-gen chassis. Now the question is, are they partnering with another team? Say, for example, are they going to be the second Spire car, who is rumored but not announced yet that will be Josh Bilicki? Are they the sponsor for that effort? And then the question is, does NY Racing equal a chartered team or a non-chartered team? Are they going to partner with somebody, or are they not? Or are they coming at all? If they have a car and they go solo, obviously that makes sense that they would be the 40th entry. How do you get 2 more? That's the question. Front Row Motorsports, people keep claiming that that's a thing. I just don't see it. I just don't see any chartered teams at this point adding other cars. And then, of course, you know, bring up the ridiculous rumor that comes up all the time, and I still, you know, it comes up, and I still don't believe it, and I'm going to be proven wrong at some point. But the money team, is the money team ever going to happen? Why are we still talking about it? I don't know. But I guess that's how you get to 43 cars. But, you know, man, I don't know. I don't know how you get that number. I think it's a lot of stretching, but, you know, to be fair, I do a lot of stretching, especially with the Indy 500. So, again, I think 39 to 40 would be my guess. It's really going to come down to whether the Gaunt brothers or whether NY Racing can put something together. But past that, I don't know if people are going to take the risk this year with the next-gen cars of crashing a car in a duel and with the spare parts situation as well. Are you going to take the risk to miss the show and potentially crash a car? I think that's a tall, tough ask. But thank you guys so much for watching. Got a report on the IndyCar testing later today. It's going to be busy, but I don't go on these trips to sit around on my butt. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you later this evening.